Stop for a second. Have you ever felt this? You send a long message, honest, full of emotion. You wait. You wait for a reply, for a sign that you matter. And all you get is, okay, or worse, nothing. You stare at the screen. Your chest sinks, and a thought appears. Do I even matter to them? But here's the part no one says out loud. It's not that they hate you. It's not that you did something wrong. They're just not thinking about you. Not the way you think about yourself at 2 a.m. Not the way you replay everything. Not the way you worry. Everyone is the main character in their own life. And you are just a small part in it. That sounds cold. It sounds painful. But if you truly understand this, it will change how you live. And by the end of this video, you'll see why this might be the most freeing truth you've ever heard. Part 1. The moment you realize, think about that moment again. You're waiting, checking your phone, refreshing, hoping, and every second that passes, you feel smaller. But here's the shift. It's not that they're ignoring you. They're just living their life. And this is where most people get it wrong. You think, if I mattered more, they would respond differently. No, they would still be themselves. Busy, distracted, focused on their own world. Because just like you, they're thinking about their own problems, their own fears, their own future, not you. And this is where it starts to hurt, because you realize you care more than they do. But here's the truth you haven't faced yet. You do the same thing to others. You forget, you move on, you focus on yourself, and you don't even notice. So it's not personal, it's human. No one is ignoring you, they're just not centered on you. But if that's true, then why does it hurt so much? Part 2. The invisible disappearance. Think about the last time you opened up. You shared something real, something that mattered. They listened, they nodded, and then they moved on, changed the subject, forgot. And in that moment, you felt invisible, like you disappeared in front of them. So you start thinking, maybe I'm not important, but that's not it. They're just not built to carry your world. Everyone has their own weight, their own stress, their own noise, and there's no space left. Not for you, not for anyone. And here's the twist. You're doing the same thing. You care, for a moment. Then you go back to your life, and forget. Not because you're a bad person, because you're human. But here's where it becomes dangerous. Because once you feel invisible long enough, you start changing yourself. Part 3. The point you lose yourself. This is where everything shifts. You start overthinking, rewriting messages, editing your words, trying to sound better, easier, more likable, less too much. And slowly, you stop being yourself. Wait, this is where it gets dangerous. Because once you start doubting yourself, no one needs to control you anymore. You do it to yourself. You shrink. You filter. You perform just to get a little attention. But here's the truth. You're performing for people who aren't even watching. You spend hours crafting something perfect. You post it. You check again and again, and nothing happens. No reaction, no attention, because they were never looking. If this feels familiar, because what comes next is what most people never realize. You're performing for an audience that doesn't exist. But here's the part that changes everything. Part 4. The freedom no one talks about. If no one is really watching you, if no one is tracking your mistakes, if no one is thinking about you that much, then what does that mean? You're free, not fake freedom, real freedom. You can try, you can fail, you can say what you think, and no one will remember long enough to care. Think about this. You're afraid to start something, afraid of judgment, afraid of being seen. But the truth is, they're too busy thinking about themselves. They don't have time to analyze you. So what are you really afraid of? An imaginary audience. You built it in your head. You gave it power. And now, you're living for it. But once you see through it, everything changes. You move faster. You decide quicker. You live more honestly. No one is watching, and that's your advantage. But there's still one thing holding you back. Part 5. The truth that sets you free. This is the final shift. The feeling you call loneliness isn't about missing people. It's about seeing reality clearly. And reality feels lonely at first, because you realize you're not important in their life, but you are everything in yours. And if you don't take control, no one will. You've spent years becoming someone acceptable, easy, nice, convenient. And what did you get? Exhaustion, emptiness, a life that doesn't feel like yours. But now, everything flips. No one is watching you. So, do what you actually want. No one is tracking your failures. So, fail bigger. No one is controlling you. So, be real. You might lose some people, but they only like the version of you that wasn't real. And in exchange, you find yourself. And maybe a few real ones. Not many, but enough. Nobody cares isn't the end. It's the beginning. Most people spend their lives trying to be seen, trying to matter, trying to prove something, but the moment you realize, no one is really watching, everything changes. You stop performing, you stop explaining, you stop shrinking, and you start living. Not for them, for you. So, here's the question. Are you going to keep performing, or finally start living? You're performing for an audience that doesn't exist. But here's the part that changes everything. Part 4. The freedom no one talks about. If no one is really watching you, if no one is tracking your mistakes, if no one is thinking about you that much, then what does that mean? You're free, not fake freedom. Real freedom. You can try. You can fail. You can say what you think. And no one will remember long enough to care. Think about this. You're afraid to start something. Afraid of judgment. Afraid of being seen. But the truth is, they're too busy thinking about themselves. They don't have time to analyze you. So what are you really afraid of? An imaginary audience. You built it in your head. You gave it power. And now, you're living for it. But once you see through it, everything changes. You move faster. You decide quicker. You live more honestly. You're performing for an audience that doesn't exist. But here's the part that changes everything. Part 4. The freedom no one talks about. If no one is really watching you, if no one is tracking your mistakes,